Welcome back to NPCs with Microphones, the podcast where we break down the games you need to know about. I'm Andrea.
And I'm Noah. Today we are diving into a game that has taken the multiplayer party scene by absolute storm. If you have been anywhere near Steam in the last few weeks, you've probably seen this one pop up. We are talking about Meccha Chameleon.
It is such a simple concept on paper, right? It's basically hide and seek, but with a twist that makes it feel completely fresh. You play as this little humanoid character, and you have to paint your entire body to blend into the environment so the seekers can't find you.
Exactly. And what I think makes it so special is that the painting isn't just an afterthought or a little cosmetic thing. It is the entire core mechanic. You literally have a color wheel and brushes, and you have to match the textures, the colors, and even the lighting of wherever you are standing.
Yeah, and it sounds easy, but once you are in a match, the pressure is on. Because you have a limited amount of time at the start of each round to get yourself camouflaged before the seekers are released. So you are frantically trying to sample colors with the eyedropper tool and paint yourself before someone spots you.
The eyedropper tool is a game changer. You can pick the exact color from the wall you are leaning against or the floor you are standing on, and then just start filling in your character. Really good players will adjust their hue and brightness to account for shadows or different lighting.
That is where the strategy really comes in. Because the maps are filled with all sorts of objects and patterns. The attention to detail required to pull off a perfect camouflage is honestly impressive.
And then there is the posing. So once you are painted, you need to strike a pose that breaks up your human silhouette. Even if your colors are perfect, if you are just standing there in a T-pose, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb.
Right. You can crouch down to look like a crate, or stretch out against a wall to look like a pillar, or even position yourself at the corner where a floor meets a wall so you kind of disappear into the geometry. The game gives you all these tools, and it's up to you to get creative with how you use them.
And what's really clever is that you actually earn points when a seeker looks right at you but doesn't realize you are a player. So there's this delicious tension where you are hiding in plain sight and you see the seeker's camera panning over you, and you're just holding your breath, hoping they don't notice.
It rewards good camouflage, even if you aren't technically hidden. It's more about deception than just finding a dark corner to hide in. Though finding a dark corner works too, if you can paint yourself to match it.
Now let's talk about the game modes, because there is more than just the standard experience. The default is normal mode, where you have fixed teams of hiders and seekers, but then there's this mode called increasing seekers.
Oh yeah, the infection mode. When a seeker finds a hider, that hider becomes a seeker too. So the round starts with just a few seekers, and then it snowballs until eventually almost everyone is hunting. It completely changes the dynamic because you know the clock is ticking, and more people are joining the hunt every second.
It creates this amazing pressure where you're trying to camouflage yourself quickly, but you also know that the pool of seekers is growing. And once someone gets found near you, suddenly you have multiple people scanning the area. It's intense.
Then there's double mode, which is this fascinating concept where everyone hides first, and then everyone seeks. So the first phase is pure camouflage, and the second phase is pure hunting. And the fastest seeker at the end gets the win. It's almost like two completely different games stacked on top of each other.
I love that because it tests both your hiding skills and your seeking skills in a single match. And you get to see everyone's camouflage attempts when the roles switch, which is always fun. You're like, oh, so that's what they were going for with that pose.
The game supports up to 14 players, which is a great number for a party game. And it works with as few as 2, though honestly, the more people you have, the more chaotic and fun it gets. The chaos is part of the charm.
Absolutely. And the developer has made it really accessible for streamers too. You can set up private servers and do viewer games, which has probably contributed a lot to its popularity. The game has this natural streaming appeal because watching people try to camouflage themselves is inherently entertaining.
It really is. And speaking of the developer, this is important context. Meccha Chameleon was made by just 2 people,
which makes the quality even more impressive, but it also explains some of the rough edges. If you read the reviews, people love the core gameplay, but there are mentions of technical issues. Things like collision bugs, some desync problems between players, and the user interface being a bit clunky.
The UI is definitely something that stands out. It's not the most intuitive, and some players have described it as crude or hard to navigate. But honestly, for a game made by 2 people, the fact that the core loop is this polished and this addictive is remarkable.
The reviews back that up too. On Steam, it has overwhelmingly positive ratings. We're talking over 30,000 reviews with a very positive consensus. English reviews sit at about 88% positive, which for a multiplayer party game is exceptional.
PC Gamer gave it an 82 out of 100, calling it a delightfully elevated take on hide and seek. And they noted that it taps into visuospatial skills and creativity rather than just standard gaming proficiency.
If you have a good eye for color and spatial awareness, you can absolutely dominate. It levels the playing field in a really interesting way.
Now let's talk about some tips for new players, because this game can be a little overwhelming when you first jump in. The number 1 tip from pretty much every guide is to use the eyedropper tool religiously. Don't try to guess colors. Sample them directly from the environment.
Yes, and learn to use the brush size controls. You can expand your brush by holding the right mouse button and moving the mouse left or right. A bigger brush means you can cover your character faster, which is crucial when you only have a short window before the seekers start hunting.
Another great tip is to watch for shadows. The lighting in the maps is dynamic, so if you're hiding in a shadowed area, you need to paint yourself darker to match. Conversely, if you're in bright light, you might need to lighten your colors a bit.
And don't forget about patterns. This is where a lot of newer players struggle. If you're standing against a brick wall, you need to paint brick patterns on yourself. The seekers are looking for inconsistencies, so the more detail you can match, the harder you are to spot.
For seekers, the strategy is completely different. You need to approach surfaces at angles to see depth, because a flat color might look perfect from one angle, but reveal itself from another.
Players make noise when they move or interact with objects, so if you hear something that doesn't match the environment, investigate it. Sound is a huge part of the seeking experience.
The game also has Steam Workshop support, which is amazing for a party game. The community has already started creating custom maps, and that extends the lifespan of the game significantly.
That community aspect is so important. And the developer seems to be actively updating the game too, despite its small team. They've already pushed patches to address some of the technical issues, though the game is still a bit rough around the edges.
But honestly, that roughness is part of its charm. There's a warmth to it that you don't get from bigger studio productions. And the gameplay is so solid that the technical hiccups are easy to forgive.
Totally agree. And the price point is very accessible too. It's not expensive, and for the amount of fun you can get out of it with friends, it's incredible value.
I've seen so many people say they jumped in for one match and then looked up and it was 3 a.m. The rounds are short, but you always want one more try. Especially in increasing Seekers mode where the dynamic shifts so dramatically.
It's one of those games that's perfect for a group call too. You're all in voice chat, screaming when someone gets spotted, laughing at terrible camouflage attempts, and celebrating perfect blends.
And the skill ceiling is surprisingly high. There are advanced techniques like the side angle test, where you check your disguise from multiple viewpoints, or hiding at texture transitions where different surfaces meet.
If you position yourself where a floor meets a wall, you can paint half your body one color and half another. And from certain angles, you basically disappear. It takes practice, but when it works, it's incredibly satisfying.
For anyone listening who is on the fence, I would say just watch a few clips online first.
And it's available right now on Steam for Windows. The development team has mentioned potential console ports in the future, but for now, it's PC only. The system requirements are pretty modest, though, so most gaming rigs should be able to run it without issues.
So, to wrap up, Meccha Chameleon is this brilliantly creative take on hide and seek that turns camouflage into an art form.
Despite some technical roughness, the core experience is so polished and so fun that it's earned its spot as one of the best multiplayer releases this year. If you have a group of friends looking for something fresh to play together, this is it.
That's going to do it for this episode of NPCs with microphones. Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you next time.